Today we're doing a little experiment cooking steak two different ways. One in a cast iron skillet and the other in a non-stick skillet. And then we're gonna test the results. My favorite. So follow me and let's turn up the tasty. What's up, everybody? I'm just a guy over here in an apron, and that feels just really normal, you know, as it probably does to you guys at home.
What the hell's going on here?
Today we're doing a little experiment. Like I said, we're cooking steak two different ways. We're cooking one in a cast iron skillet and the other in a non-stick skillet. Now, when it comes to non-stick skillets, there's a lot of different kinds. You have the cheap ones, you have the ones that are a little bit more expensive. Just for everyone's knowledge, I'm using the Ninja Foodie non-stick skillet. I like it. I also did an infomercial for them. So if you see or happen to be watching TV around like 3 a.m. in the morning, you might see me in this Ninja Foodie air fryer video for like 5 seconds. But I like their products. It's not a paid post, but when I went to buy one, this is one of the more expensive ones, so I thought it would hold up better over time. There's Teflon, there's ceramic. I've looked. Really don't know what this one is, but I like it. I've been using it now for about 4 months. So that's what we're gonna go with. The first thing we're going to do is we're gonna get these skillets. That's actually what they're called, skillets. Don't know why I don't know the word. I've said it a lot. We're gonna get them pipping hot. The same level of pipping. How will I know that? Well, we have an infrared thermometer right here. That will tell us the surface temperature of the skillet itself. Once it gets to about 400 degrees, I'm gonna hit them both with a little bit of avocado oil. I like that oil. It has a really high smoke point. That's important because if you go over the smoke point, if you heat the oil beyond that, you run the risk of burning it. Burnt oil is gonna result in a burnt and bitter steak, and that is no bueno. So we're gonna get these heated up. While that's happening, I'm gonna go get myself a little refreshment, and I'll be right back. All right, so in order to reduce variables outside of just the skillets themselves, I have both skillets set on the same exact size of burner. I have both of those burners set to the same level of level 9. Once that reaches about 400 degrees, I'm gonna drop it down to about a level 6 or 7. I don't really prefer to cook with electric, but it's what I have. And it provides for a lot of control. Right now, this one is at about 250 degrees, and this one is actually at about the same. That's surprising to me already. I thought that they might heat at different rates, but they're pretty close right now. 275. And 288, 290. So this cast iron skillet's already starting to heat up just a little bit faster. We'll let that hit 400 and then drop in the oil. Now technically you don't need any oil to cook in a non-stick, but I still like to add it. It gives it that little bit of flavor. I've tried cooking eggs and things that don't have butter, and I don't like the results. I think I like the flavor that it adds, but it's not technically necessary in a non-stick skillet. 385, 400, so here we go. We're gonna go ahead and drop in a little bit of oil there, a little bit there. We're going to coat it around the pan on both. There we go. We're starting to see a little bit of smoke there. So I'm gonna drop that temperature, drop the steak. Can you hear that at home? Can you hear that steak sear? That, my friends, is the sound of tasty. Now, why do I press? Well, I want a nice contact to create a uniform sear. The more the steak that comes into contact with the pan, the better the sear will be. Now, as you can see, I've already dropped them down to a level 6. We're gonna let them go for about 3 minutes per side, flip, until we reach an internal temperature of about 120 to 25 degrees. I'll pull them off. There will be some carryover, temperature rising. Is that a thing? You know what I mean. Of about another 5-7 degrees until we hit that nice medium rare. All right, so while these are cooking, just a couple quick observations. One, it sounds like the cast iron is sizzling more. I don't know what impact that's ultimately going to have. Also, these steaks were salted for an hour before going into the pan. We found that creates some really great flavor. Move that one around a little bit. Try that over here as well. All right, they've been cooking now for about 3 minutes. Let's see how they look. First, on the non-stick. Okay, not too uniform. We're gonna go ahead and make sure it gets nice contact over here. Now on the cast iron skillet. Much better crust already. Make sure that gets good contact over here as well. Now, look, guys, I know I can add butter and rosemary and baste these and do a bunch of other things. I'm intentionally not doing that. I really want to isolate the impact of each cooking surface. There's only salt included on these steaks, avocado oil in the pan, nothing else. Try to keep as much constant as possible, right down to the size of the skillet themselves. These are both 10-inch skillets. As you can see, they're both set to level 6 heat, a medium high. I could maybe go higher than that. I obviously don't want to burn the steaks. I'd rather go a little lower. That's going to allow that crust maybe even more time to form and prevent it from burning and becoming bitter. Okay, cast iron steak is done. And before I pull it out, I'm just going to sear the fat cap. And then, so I remember which is which, I'm going to put a toothpick into the one from the cast iron skillet. Over here, be about done. Okay, at 120 there, so we're going to sear the fat cap as well. All right, I'm going to let those steaks rest for about 5 minutes and then test the results. All right, guys, these steaks are done cooking. They've been resting about 5 minutes, and as far as my eye can tell, there is very little difference in the visual appearance of each one. Like if you were to put these on a plate in front of me and I didn't know that there was any experiment, I wouldn't know that one was even cooked in a non-stick or one in a cast iron skillet. I think my biggest observation from actually cooking was that for whatever reason, the non-stick just didn't have a lot of sizzle to it. It didn't make a lot of sound, and that was definitely a contrast to the cast iron skillet, which had that tasty sear that we're used to hearing. Just running my knife across it, very little difference. Now, what I suspect is that the non-stick doesn't handle high heats as well. I suspect it's going to transfer from that electric burner directly to the steak quicker. So maybe if I hadn't turned these down, I think in a non-stick, even though it doesn't look this way, it's just a gut. I think in a non-stick it's going to be more likely to burn faster, but exterior-wise, there really is no difference. So right over here is the cast iron, which, like I said, had the toothpick in it. Right over here is the non-stick. So let's just go ahead and get to cutting. See how this turned out. I pulled them both off right around 120-ish, maybe 123. This one took a little bit longer to cook, but I just think it's a little bit thicker. Even though they're the same weight, took about a minute longer. Let's go ahead and get this one cut. Okay, so right about from the middle, let's see how they look. First on the non-stick, decent color. Not as pink as I would have liked, but sometimes with the lighting that we use, it can look different. It could also look different after it sits out for a few minutes. I've noticed that sometimes when I come back to a steak, it actually looks a little bit more pink about 5 minutes later than it does. This one has a little bit better color to it, no doubt about it on the inside. Actually, as I'm holding this, I'm feeling a little bit better crust. I don't know. Maybe that was just that piece. They're really close. This is a really close call. All right, now let's see if I can get one of these into a manageable bite. First, we're going to go with the skillet steak. Now, before I do this, I better go get something to cleanse my palate. You know, I don't want the taste of one steak adversely or positively influencing the taste of the other. It's a good steak. You're hit with the salt, you're hit with the texture. It's a New York strip, so it has a little bit of chew to it, which you'd expect, and I kind of like. The strip kind of sits somewhere between the ribeye and the filet, both in terms of fattiness and in terms of chew. Now over to the cast iron. Oh. I mean, maybe what I'm picking up there is just a difference in doneness. Very, very good steak. Both very good steaks. Steaks we're used to. Steaks I'd be proud to serve anyone that came into my home. But as we can see, there is a color difference here. So maybe it's just the case of this one was just a little bit more done than its counterpart. I mean, it certainly looks that way. There could be intermuscular differences. These steaks were the same weight, although are very close to it, but not necessarily the same thickness. This looks like a better steak. I don't know that I'm convinced that has to do with the cast iron or just the temperature that it rose to or was pulled from. Very similar. If I had to say anything, I would almost say that this one has less gray, but they went through very similar cooking process. So with that said, I don't think I'd hesitate to use a non-stick skillet to cook my steak. It's not something I traditionally use. Now, maybe one thing we need to explore in future videos is there a difference between an expensive non-stick skillet, like the Ninja Foodie one that we have over here, and like an $11 Walmart special. Maybe that will be our next video. I don't know. We'll have to give it a shot. Have you guys tried this experiment at home? Do you cook steaks in a non-stick or cast iron or even a stainless steel? We'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Let us know what works for you guys at home, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Cheers.